Okay, hear me out. I know the title sounds kind of morbid, but bear with me for a second. Um, we'll get into it really quickly. I just want to preface, like, I'm good. I'm totally fine. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Like, it's not taking actionable steps to have that happen. No, I'm okay. I promise. Um, if it makes you feel better, I'm in a really nice spot physically, right? It's funny, whenever I record the podcast episodes, right? I'm usually like in the studio, recording them either over the phone with somebody or just talking across a table from them. To have it in that space is really cool. But whenever I do my intro and outro, I record it after the fact. Just because I want to kind of touch on some points from the episode, just to kind of give a little teaser for like what the episode is going to be about. And I'm recording it the same place I'm recording it right now. I'm recording it in this really pretty spot. There's some really nice clouds coming in. Really nice weather as well. And you'll never be able to see that. I'll tell you this. I'll put a photo of like the clouds right now. Here, let me just. Yeah, I'll send a photo of the clouds like on my story or something, and you'll know what I'm experiencing right now, and it's nice. But okay, yeah. Let's good morning. Welcome back to the ALG show. Oh, that was too loud. I need to kind of change these sound pads because these are kind of the ones that came with the audio interface that I record with, and these are all just kind of like, that's so bad. Like, when am I ever going to use these? I hope everybody's doing well. If you know me personally, DM me. Genuinely let me know. I'm so curious how everyone's doing. Hopefully you're doing well. Just given where everything is at. I think we're all just kind of trying to make the most of our situation and trying to move in the way that's kind of best for us and best for our needs, and just, I hear you. It's tough right now. It's tough for everybody. And I'm hoping that you're managing that okay. Normally these episodes are like fairly scripted. I'm breaking the fourth wall a little bit here. Normally the intro and outro is pretty scripted. I have kind of a rough idea what I want to talk to guests about, but it's never like, oh, we're going to get into this, or oh, we're going to get into that. But the intro and the outro are usually super scripted, as well as these solo episodes that I do, which is what we're going to do today. And I had something written down, and I just, after some thinking about it, I just didn't feel like that was right for this. So I'm kind of going more off the cuff with sort of what I'm talking about, and sort of just generally where my headspace has been just kind of the last month or so. I won't get too into the nitty gritty, but I'll kind of talk about some kind of takeaways from some experiences that I've had over the last month or so. So, okay, first thing, we'll get into the title of the episode, which is I've let myself die. It sounds pretty morbid, and it is, but in all honesty, it's kind of how I'm feeling. I feel like I've sort of abandon a good chunk of things. And at least that's how I felt like at the beginning of the month. I felt like a lot of things just personally were happening, and I kind of let it take over a lot of my routine, sort of certain habits that I had, and just it like took me and put me in a mason jar, and it was shaken in all different directions and just thrown into the ocean, upside down. So I just didn't know where I was at when I came to, and I'm just delirious as all hell, and just, that's, I guess that's the best way I can describe sort of what I'm feeling. But it's okay, right? I mean, we can't predict certain things in our life as much as we want to, and as much as we try to take control over the reins for every aspect of our life as much as humanly possible. Like, we really just can't predict certain things. And there was just kind of a stack of a few things that just kind of happened at once. And again, that's not any fault to anybody in particular. It's just kind of happened. Just kind of happened, right? And that I felt like kind of affected my work a little bit. I felt like I wasn't fully present in certain conversations. I felt like I was just like, okay, what do you need? This, da 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 da, done. Let's do it. Da 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 da. And then we'll go into another conversation with someone else and go, this, da da da, got it, done, da da da. And just like very skippy around and not so like seated in where I need to be, because I was just doing a lot of like putting out fires and just making sure that like my schedule doesn't get ahead of me, which, spoiler alert, it did. There was kind of an instance where I just kind of slept for a really long time, for like 1 or 2 days. And no matter how much sleep I feel like I can give myself, mind you, I have insomnia, so it's already a sleeping issue. Even if I get like a full proper, in that time when I got a full proper 8 hours of sleep, it just felt like my whole, like I could never fully recover from what I was experiencing or dealing with and that sort of thing. I did a few things though to kind of get back on track. Things are a little bit more settled now. Obviously, I'm all caught up. I'm kind of ready to go into a few projects that are happening this week. So I'm doing some catch ups with some friends hopefully soon, and getting things on track in the way that they should be. I don't want to abandon my schedule for too long, or longer than I feel like I have, right? I won't get into the why, right? But I'll get into kind of what I've done to kind of bring myself back to reality a little bit, I guess, is what we can call that. So yes, I've let myself die. My schedule's gone out of whack. My routine of diet and exercise, and dare I say, just personal maintenance has kind of gone out the window. Like, there was significantly less like journaling going on, for example, or just like sort of those small check-ins on like my mental health, and that sort of thing is just like just gone. Exercise, again, had some stuff going on that really occupied a lot of my time, just personally. So it's just been like everywhere. Like, there's not even a second to exercise. I know my activity rings are kind of looking at me like, yo, you got to do some, like, especially during like the middle of the month. Like, yeah, that wasn't great. And yeah, just certain things I personally should have been doing more, like, or just super steamrolled. So when it came to kind of trying to get back into sort of a rhythm, and things just feeling like normal, I did like a very small thing. I just started walking, right? And normally I do this as like a base level of exercise, or I'll go for a run or something. But this was more like there was no agenda. Actually, I'm lying to you. There was an agenda, because normally when I run, there's just kind of a path. But this particular instance, I had just gone to like get coffee. I went to a spot that was just kind of close to the studio, and I kind of took the scenic route because this coffee spot, mind you, I think is like 2 or 3 minutes one way. And I kind of figured, hey, you know what? I don't know this area super well. So I took it as an opportunity where I didn't have like a call kind of immediately, or I didn't have to be somewhere immediately. So I just kind of took the scenic route. I went around kind of different parts of the city that the studio's in, and I just kind of did people watching. That was something that I think brought me more to reality, simply because like it kind of made me realize, in the most positive way possible, it made me realize like how, like the scale of things. Like it made me realize like how small things are. Like the world just goes on. Like you are not the only planet that exists in the solar system. Like there's so many other worlds, and there's so many other people that are experiencing kind of similar things, better or worse situations. And it kind of made me feel like, you know what? Yeah, like it's not great. It's not good, but I think knowing the fact that there was just people in general dealing with things at and around the same time just kind of helped connect me a little bit more with reality again. And I think we've lost a little bit of that level of humanity a little bit. I think in certain regards, even as simple as like going to get coffee, right? I could have easily like placed that order online, gone in, grabbed the thing, and like whatever, dipped out. But because I had like the simple human interaction of like this person just like, hey, how you doing? You know, just the simple. As much as they don't actually give a like, it's nice to have that human connection, and you know, just talking to random people out on the street, or even in the studio. There's this elevator sometimes, like I think it was like that same day as well, where I had just started talking with a random person that had like this pineapple, this really large pineapple that they were bringing into the elevator. And we kind of struck up a conversation about that, and just like, what are you bringing that in for? You know what I mean? Just some odd characters that really kind of ignite a conversation, which I think we need. We need more of just like a basic level of human connection to bring ourselves back to reality. Or at least I feel like it was helpful for me in some regard, right? Because I think a lot of times, like at least for myself in this particular instance, like I was very much just like, I had to focus on this one thing, these two things, and you kind of lose sense of kind of everything else. And I think the last thing you want to be doing is, when you're interacting with other people, is like thinking about your current situation. So it's cool to just kind of strike up a random conversation about like literally anything else, even if it's the dumbest thing like in the world. Like I think of that sort of base level of like, hey, how you doing? Like they don't know what you have going on. They're just like, hey, we're in this. We know it's hard as fuck. So, you know, let's give each other that grace of like, you know what, it's okay. We'll be fine. Probably. I say that a lot. I feel I've realized I went to grab coffee with a friend, and you know, her and I were just kind of talking, and kind of at the end of our conversations, it kind of turns into like, we'll be okay, probably, right? Because there's always some conversation about whatever weird state of the whatever weird state the film industry is in. Talking about, I think in this particular instance, our conversation was just about like where work is, and just seeing the financials of both the company she works at and just myself. It's just like, like it's not doing that great. But we'll be okay, probably, right? I mean, it has to be. Maybe that is partially being naive, but I'd like to think that the industry is going to evolve, and it's going to figure itself out, and just kind of a weird a turn of events, I guess. So when I say we'll be fine, probably, I'm largely thinking that we will be fine, probably. And I try to carry that sentiment through like just my day-to-day routine where I'm just like, if I keep this up, I'll be fine, probably. It'll keep me from kind of, it'll keep me present, keep me grounded in reality. It'll keep me focused on, the things that I want to be working on and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Um, which, speaking of, another thing that I've been really doing is I'm subscribed to the American Cinematographer in more ways than none. um, Obviously, I'm subscribed to the American Cinematographer. Got my June issue, and just started reading that and kind of focusing on like, they had a big talking piece on Sinners, and hearing what Autumn was doing in her process was really um, interesting. And then going back to kind of separating things from kind of what you're experiencing currently, it was nice to kind of see an outside perspective of like, oh, you dealt with this too on this production, on this scale. I'm not going crazy for thinking that this is an abnormal thing to be dealing with. I thought people just had like their taken care of. You know what I mean? Or sort of the thought process of approaching a scene differently. And there's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? But I thought it was really interesting, sort of certain processes that she got into, and also just kind of what her headspace kind of looked like for this particular film. And again, incredible work. Probably one of the best I've seen from this year actually so far. Um, but yes, all this to say that it's really nice to kind of get some perspective on like, oh, I'm not alone in these experiences. You'll see that this is kind of a recurring sentiment as I go through these sort of, I guess, home remedies, right? Another thing in regards to the American Cinematographer, I am subscribed to ASC Plus. One of the things that they offer as an ASC Plus member is this incredible library of different videos, sort of, I guess, video essays, for lack of a better word, where it's, ASC conversations, which is like, the conversations between cinematographers and kind of certain thought processes that they have, right? They also get into some older master classes that they have on there. I think being a student and allowing yourself to kind of surrender yourself to the craft kind of fully in that way has been really liberating in a weird way, just because I don't have to be, or I don't have to feel like responsible for something. And I can just sit and I can just learn, and I can Google things if I want, or like to figure out maybe some new term, or maybe just, taking my time with education, I think has been really fulfilling for me in this regard. Just being able to see like, oh, it's interesting that you did this, or oh, it's interesting that you did that, and just not having to have everything together, I think has been really nice for me. Just because in certain instances that I was dealing with, like it felt like I had to, and I don't know anybody who does. To be honest with you, there's some people that I remember I used to kind of not look up to, but like I used to think was like, oh my god, they're like God, right? And they're doing amazing. Nothing can touch them. They're basically gods amongst us, right? um, but after I've got to know people a little bit more, it's like they'll talk about some issue or something that's going on with them. Um, and number one, I appreciate that they feel comfortable to talk to me about certain things, and also like it's crazy to think like, oh my god, you deal with this too. I'm not just like alone, just dealing with everything. Like that one episode of SpongeBob where it's like alone, alone, alone. It's nice to know that I'm not Squidward, and that we're all just a bunch of Patricks kind of wandering around and kind of figuring stuff out, and that will be good. And I think another thing that's kind of just been on my mind is like burnout. I know better now how to approach these things as far as burnout goes, because I've dealt with it a couple times. And I kind of know when to take a step back, or I know when things are kind of getting crazy, and I need to kind of take a second to essentially refresh and not feel like a husk of what I was, right. Um, a very, very simple thing that I did in terms of burnout. Like if I woke up and it was just like I did not, you know, sometimes when you wake up and you're just like you don't feel well rested at all. Like you feel like you've been awake for like a month or something, and you just don't. Sometimes I would wake up and I wouldn't feel like that well rested, and something that I did to kind of jumpstart my myself in a sense was to take a shower. It's such a simple thing, just taking a shower, putting on some clean clothes. Like it kind of makes you feel more together than you are. Like your whole life could be a mess, and even now I'm kind of looking at certain things where I'm like, ugh, I gotta just take a shower and come back to this. You know, like it makes you feel like, you know what, like I got this. You're refreshed, and you can then come back into things and just take the reins on whatever it is that you're dealing with. I think my advice is that's been pretty helpful for me. So take a shower if you're dealing with a burnout. Take a shower, put on some clean clothes, get a glass of water, and you'll be all right. Probably, right? As much as like I'm saying certain things, I feel like I'm very guilty of like never taking my own advice. So I've like kind of written down things and become more proper about like documenting like what I should be doing, or what I need to be, or what I know needs to be done in order for me to kind of revive myself. I'm not under a DNR, at least currently. So if I can sort of revive myself mentally, albeit it takes a little bit of time, more time than I'd like, but um, I know that when I hit these sort of lows, I can kind of fall back on sort of this routine that I've built for myself. One of those things, obviously, is taking a shower, putting on some clean clothes, going for a walk, just having some simple human interactions if you haven't. Um, Also, get some like some food. I got that advice from somebody. I can't remember who it is, but like just getting some good food, and not necessarily like, oh, you gotta get your greens, you gotta get your healthy stuff. It's like, no, just get something that you know is hearty, that you know you're gonna like, and enjoy the hell out of it. And not that you need to give yourself a particular excuse or a reason to enjoy that sort of thing. I think we forget that we can allow ourselves to kind of enjoy things because we want to. You know what I mean? So I think, just getting yourself something that you know you're going to enjoy, and just enjoying the out of that meal. I took that advice kind of recently, and then I had gone um, somewhere to get some food from a spot that I really like, and I was chowing the down. Like I was sitting in this restaurant, just like eating the hell out of this meal, like like I had been starving for 3 days. It just like, I don't know how to explain it other than it answered a lot of questions for me without saying anything. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, when it gets like silent at the dinner table. It's like that. It's like that where the food's answering a lot of questions. It's like you're thinking about this issue or whatever. Like shut up, enjoy this meal. Like I cannot tell you enough. That is an easy recommendation for um if you're going through that like dopamine on tap is like something that I've come to enjoy more than I expected. Again, I don't do it that often. I took some advice from a former guest, Kenny, where I try to be adamant about eating healthy when I'm not on set. so that when I'm on set and I'm eating like, I don't feel awful. Um, for the most part, I try to stay pretty healthy and within reason for certain things. I think sometimes you just need to allow yourself to just like gnaw at the thing that you want to eat so badly. I think you need to you need to kind of liberate yourself from restriction in certain moments, and have your sort of occasional vices. Again, obviously, because I don't smoke or drink, or, I've been sober for a little bit now. And that, I'm not going to lie to you, that's been kind of gnawing on me a little bit. Just like, cause, or you think the itch for certain things would go away, right? But it never does. It's never subsided. I think there was maybe a moment where I wasn't thinking about that sort of stuff for a while, and then it just kind of came back in full swing. It kind of comes in like a tide, where I'll have like a craving that I can't not deal with. But again, it subsides, and I kind of go about my life, and it comes back again. And when I have those cravings, I kind of go back to these sort of healthier habits, because I know long term it's not going to be the best. I know when I go back to that journal, and I go to that and I sink all my problems into that, like that's that's infinitely healthier than just doing what I was doing before. And so, um, again, going back to having this routine, it's just been infinitely better for so many aspects of my life. That's allowed me not to die, in a sense, right? But I did. I was sort of or I have been feeling like a husk of myself for the past month or so, unfortunately. It sort of felt like, I guess the best way that I can describe it is like, that scene, or not that scene, how, like, if you've seen Pacific Rim, the original one, the good one, if you've ever seen Pacific Rim, you know that, like, to sort of pilot the, what are they called? The kaiju fighters? The robots? I'm forgetting the name. It's not the point. When you're navigating when you're piloting that robot, you need two people, and to be in perfect synchronicity, and everything needs to be like exact, and you're sort of in a routine, in a rhythm of things. And for me, it felt like I was just one pilot that was trying to do both jobs at the same time, but couldn't, because half the mechanics were broken or needed a fix, or whatever it is. And it feels like all the issues of the robot are kind of like falling apart at the same time, or different things, or different issues are coming up, and I just can't deal with everything at once. Um, and yeah, it was like that for a while. I felt like I was just like putting band-aids over things that I shouldn't be putting band-aids over, really important things that I shouldn't be putting band-aids over. I'd almost argue that this episode is a band-aid solution to sort of something, because couldn't wrangle a guest in time. Sort of happens. I had someone on board, but they had some scheduling conflicts, which, such is life. That's no fault on them, right? But because I sort of got to it like last minute, I had to scramble for a guest. I was just like, oh, I can't do this. So here we are. I'm recording the day before this goes out, in case anybody's wondering. I could have easily been like, let's not put out an episode. Let's wait until next month to try and wrangle a guest again. But I think, again, going back to, keeping up some form of normalcy, this is kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, once a month, the same as when rent's due, like once a month, I'm going to have to pay something. And this, although not necessarily a payment monetarily, is still something that people are waiting for and have held me accountable for. I remember kind of when last season ended, I had a couple friends text me like, yo, where's the next episode? It's like, it's not coming out till January. I got to wait till the next season. And I think having people like that in my corner, which love y'all for real, like the people that do listen to this show, I really appreciate it. Makes me feel like I'm doing something, I guess, you know what I mean? But yeah, keeping up with the show has been something that's like, you know what? Let me get back into the routine. Let me help myself and record an episode, even if it's not, um, ideal circumstances. Like I think getting something on the board is better than nothing, right? Um, and so that's kind of been my mentality going into this. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, normally these are pretty scripted. This is kind of the first time around where it's not really scripted, and kind of part of where I'm at currently is just everything is a jumbled mess. So this is a jumbled mess. But I don't know. I hope I'm not alone in that sentiment, just because like, life does get crazy and just kind of happens. And we try to perfect and have so many, at least myself, I uh, perfect to a fault in a lot of scenarios. Like I try to really perfect, my communication with the people at the studio, for example. Like we all kind of communicate to make sure that like no one's trying to use the space for something that the other one is, or I'm on top of that communication. And if somebody needs gear, to make it available, and just that sort of thing. Just like I try to have that sort of thing really dialed in and really perfected, so that there's no like questions of like, oh, Alex didn't say this one thing, or Alex didn't do whatever. And I try to make amends like as quickly as possible. And like really try to fix things and refine things. And that's something that I'm learning too, is like, especially now, because we have a psych stage now. It's like a decent size. I believe it's like 250 square feet. I'm probably wrong on that metric, but it's a good size. And something that we've sort of learned about like maintaining this sort of thing is the paint is expensive. Number one. But also the space itself has shifted, because it is like a new thing that was in there. Prior to that, it was just a big kind of concrete New York style studio. Um, and so now with this things implemented, we had to change like a lot of the like where certain things are. For example, we have this red couch in there, and it got to change where these things go. Or like storing equipment. That was another thing too. We ended up adding some shelving from another unit that was moving out. And just it changed a lot of the organization in that space. Um, and so that's another thing where I want to make sure that like, hey, my stuff is here, this stuff is here. If you need it, it's there. If you don't need it, it's just put it there. Just making sure things are known, that like this is getting your books in the right places, or getting your together, I guess, is something that I I've I've been really adamant about trying to do, more so than I have in a long time, especially given just this current period in my life. I really try to make it a point to drive home that like, hey, like I gotta get this together, and stuff. Speaking of gear, um, I'll promote this more publicly. I just haven't gotten to this yet. This will be the first thing that kind of goes up after this has happened. My equipment is now under co-assignment at DFI Rentals. So if you know me and if you need equipment, feel free to contact me, and I'll connect you with someone at DFI, or just talk to DFI directly and request my equipment. That's just kind of where things are going to be now. And again, in terms of making my life a little bit easier, these guys have really helped me out in terms of just like QCing stuff, and also just making sure that I have good quality gear. I've rented from them several times before, and they've always been pretty good about like having good packages. And just the staff in general is just like really friendly with any, even like when I first signed the co-assignment agreement and I was dropping things off, like they were really adamant about like clarifying like every question I had, even if it was kind of a stupid question, which I really appreciate, right? And I hope if you guys go ahead and work with these guys, like they're gonna help you out and have a good help you guys have a good rental experience. I know they do student discounts as well. So if you're a student, they could probably be a good place to go to. I believe it's like a 15% off or something like that. Not a clue. I'm not a student. I've never been a film student in the college sense. So maybe that could be something to your advantage, especially shooting thesis films or whatever you decide to shoot. Like that could be something that's really a valuable asset, which is something that I think I could have used earlier in my career, is just building better relationships with rental houses as a cinematographer, and not feeling so much pressure to like have certain things when I know they're like, okay, they can help me provide a backup or whatever it is. Now that's not the case. I'm an owner operator, so it's just like, hey, can you help me QC stuff, and in exchange I'll split the revenue. Um, the reason for the rental house is different now, but the sentiment is still the same in terms of like we can help each other, and I'm hoping that it, at least for me personally, it served as a reminder that like, all right, get the help that you need, even if you feel kind of stupid about it, or kind of shy or whatever. It's like, don't don't not prioritize you. Like, you have to live with yourself from birth to death. Nobody else comes between that. Nobody should come between that. I hope not. Right? So, prioritize. All this to say, I know I'm rambling. I feel myself rambling, and I hope somebody gets something from this. My general takeaway from this, we'll leave it at this, is take care of your mental health, right? Just check in on yourself. Keep yourself in a routine with things, because it's going to help you, just like, having this sort of level of normalcy, at least for us as like freelancers, filmmakers, or like artists in general. I feel like we tend to get lost in like, oh, we have to do this thing or we have to do this thing. Like our certain things kind of take the precedent. And I think having just a basic level of like, okay, this is what I do in the morning. This is my bedtime sort of situation. This is sort of something if I'm on set. This is sort of some thoughts that I have, or this is sort of some thoughts that I have when I'm just doing admin stuff like my bookkeeping, or just pre-pro meetings, or what have you. Like, building out certain routines, I think is foundationally going to set you up in the long term for success. And just knowing ways to kind of help yourself in regards to your mental health is huge, because all we have is ourselves. Kind of. No, that's not true. All we have is each other. We got to give ourselves grace for a lot of whatever we have going on, and nobody knows what anybody else is dealing with, and I think giving yourself that sort of grace for like, hey, it's hitting the fan. I got to do what I got to do, and just helping yourself come back to reality is something that we need to do more of. So don't make the mistake like me, where I did it too late and I let myself die. That take a shower, put on a clean shirt, go for a walk, have some human interaction, get some really good food that you know is like awful for you. What's an example I can give you for like awful food? Anything like greasy as hell. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad example. Just some greasy, just some sloppy. Pause. That is going to be something that's like is going to answer a lot of questions for you. Those things, like the shower, just shut up. It's going to answer questions for you. Putting on a clean shirt, same thing. Going out, seeing some human interaction, every sort of little resentment and anger and depression that you're sort of having is just it won't go away, right? I mean, been dealing with this for God knows how long, right? But any way that we can sort of amend these situations and make our lives just like slightly easier, I think is just gonna go a long way, especially if you want to live like a good, healthy life. Um, I think those are some principles that have sort of helped me out. Again, do it sooner than later if you feel like you catching yourself kind of turning into a husk, or as I call it, dying. Um, do what you can to revive yourself. Don't go under a DNR. I think that's sort of the last thing that um, we want or that you want. So, you know. But anyways, I feel myself kind of rambling a bit, and to be honest with you, I'm really hoping this made sense to somebody. Um, I feel like I've been kind of rambling a lot, to be honest with you, but that's that's just like been where my head's at. So if you'll allow me some grace while I try to recalibrate myself with these sorts of routines and stuff, I promise you the next episode is going to be a little bit more um, like sharp and present and ready to go, more than this has been. But in any sense, hopefully you've gotten something from this. I hope I'm not alone in thinking that like I've lost sight of my routine, and I, I'm not crazy for thinking that like hit the fan and that there's no solution. In any case, I hope this is helpful to somebody. Just kind of talking about like sort of remedies that I've been doing to kind of help with um, kind of a dying period. Um, Hopefully that's helpful to somebody. Whether you're like a filmmaker friend or an artist friend in general, let me know. Feel free to send me a message on Instagram. I would love to hear what you've been doing as like a remedy for things. I'm always curious to kind of see what certain people do and what things sort of help for them, and kind of actively implement it into my routine. And that's also why I ask the mental health question in every episode. If you're a longtime viewer of the show, like from day one I've sort of asked this question. Just because it is something that I myself am actively dealing with, and there's some days where it's a lot, and you just have to. Sometimes it just feels like I don't even know where to start, right? And I think I'm at a point where I've curated enough solutions to where I can then apply it to my own life, and have it be super, um, not monotonous, but that it doesn't take me so much energy to do these sorts of things, and that I can very quickly kind of get up into sort of a normal, happier rhythm again. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna ramble anymore. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you have the. I hope you have a great rest of your day, morning, afternoon, night, whenever you're listening to this. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.